Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Chamblee Downtown Development Authority meeting for Wednesday, December 16th, 2020. We'll have the call to order. I'll run down the list, assuming I can remember everybody. Call your name, say here. Brian.
Here.
Van. Leslie.
Here.
Robert.
Here.
Ronnie? Not yet. And no Andy. I think that is everyone. I'm here. Let's go ahead and get started. The approval of the minutes. Has everyone had an opportunity to review the regular meeting minutes for November 24th, 2020?
A little bit. Motion to approve the regular meeting minutes from November 24th, 2020, as submitted.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it, Brian.
Thank you.
All in favor, Brian?
Aye.
Van?
Aye.
Leslie?
Aye.
Robert?
Aye.
Ronnie, maybe. Not here yet. That passes. The approval of the executive session minutes, November 24th, 2020. Has everyone had a chance to review? Do we have any questions?
Motion to approve the meeting minutes from the executive session on November 24th, 2020, as submitted.
Do we have a second? There we go, Brian. All right, all in favor, Brian?
Aye.
Van?
Aye.
Leslie?
Aye.
Robert?
Aye.
Ronnie? Not yet. Those are approved. Moving on to the chair's report. So I had the opportunity to catch up with the Chamblee Doraville CID about a week, maybe 2 weeks ago. Really just kind of an informal introduction. Got to kind of hear about what they have planned coming up in 2021, and got to introduce some of our projects that we have going on. I plan to touch base with them probably once a quarter, and then to also join their meetings when I can. They have regularly scheduled, I think, monthly meetings over Zoom, but certainly some overlap with what they're doing and the things that we're trying to accomplish. I think they're really kind of figuring out what those projects are. They didn't really have a whole lot slated yet, but they'll be figuring that out over the next couple months. And just generally speaking, I plan to do more outreach to other groups in the area, like the Doraville DDA, Brookhaven DDA, that sort of thing. So when I have stuff to discuss, I'll let you guys know. That is it. Financial report, the 2021 budget approval. Has everyone had a chance to review the budget?
Motion to approve the 2021 budget approved.
Second.
Second from Leslie. All in favor? Brian?
Aye.
Van?
Aye.
Leslie?
Aye.
Robert?
Aye.
Myself, aye, approved. Moving on, DDA property update. We'll keep this brief. No real updates from the last meeting other than both our tables and chairs property and Chamblee Dunwoody Collision went in for their zoning yesterday, I believe it was.
Yep.
And Leslie, correct me if I'm wrong anywhere, but it sounded like they both projects got the thumbs up, and there's a lot of excitement around them. I'm adding that part, but everything's moving forward.
It is. But one thing that we have been informed about, Rob Mullis has decided that his project is too expensive to build and he's going to redesign it. And I do not know what that means. But he's already purchased the property, right? So that he can't undo that.
That is correct. He has purchased the property. He cannot give it back to us. We'd certainly be happy to purchase it back at a lower price.
Did we?
And I'm joking with that comment, but go ahead.
Did we give him a tax, whatever? No, okay. I wonder if that's not, I'm scared about what he's gonna come up with design wise. And it's probably gonna have, no retail. And, so I'm very concerned about that. And I wonder if we can't do something preemptive to see if we can help him to build what he originally designed.
Agreed.
I would caution preemptively doing it. I don't have a problem doing stuff to help him, but I'd like, he's got to go to council to make any changes or new designs. So why don't we let him do that? And that way council can say, yeah, we like this, or we don't like this. We want the DDA to help rather than us trying to get involved.
Yep. That makes sense, man.
Yeah, and when I say help, I'm thinking, how do we get the right people together to help this project happen? Getting different experts together, whether that's realtors or folks that are doing retail in the area, any way that we can kind of help foster a some sort of relationship that'll get this project moving forward. I've heard through the grapevine that he is looking to change the scope, and this is hearsay, so I'll say that first. But I think he's trying to get the price point down on the quantity of units, so he is going to increase the quantity of the amount of units and decrease the size of the units. But again, that all has to go back to council, and I think there's a lot more work that has to be done before we really know what that project's going to look like.
Yeah. But we can imagine.
We can imagine.
Okay, yeah, wait and see.
Leslie, was there anything you wanted to add about the two projects that went to council yesterday?
They're very exciting. They are linchpins in our true center of the universe downtown, in my opinion, because I feel that soon to be American Way is kind of ground zero, and everything radiates out, or will eventually radiate out from there. But they, they asked for variances. None of them were onerous, and they got pretty much everything they asked for. The one thing that they are planning, they're trying to save the pine trees that line the street on the tables and chairs side. And those pine trees could very easily be impacted by redoing the curb. Somehow, I think they're narrowing that road a little bit there, but I'm not really sure about that. But what they want to do to preserve those trees is to put in a boardwalk style sidewalk as opposed to in-ground concrete. I'm not optimistic about their ability to save the trees just because they are close to the curb, roots go under the pavement, the street. One of them is diseased. They're not really specimen pines so much. They're actually slash pines, which is what, Gulf, whatever, they farm them in all over South Georgia and North Florida, et cetera. And, they grow tall in 25 years and then they harvest them. So they can be long lived trees. I just don't know if it's worth trying to preserve them. But you know what? It's not really up to us. We left it up to them, an arborist, and them to come up with an idea that will work on preserving those trees. And like I said, one member of their development team is optimistic, one member is not so much. So
Leslie, did they have a plan for long-term maintenance of a boardwalk?
that's part of the condition. Absolutely. However, once that's in, once sidewalks are in, it falls to the city to keep them or to repair them when they need repair. So that maintenance plan is something that we did request. This was a DCI. This was not the real nuts and bolts so much of I mean, it was a deeper dive than just a concept plan, but it's still not the nuts and bolts of how both projects are going to be built. So that is still to come.
I'm looking forward to both. I think, like you said, it's going to be a great catalyst, and it's going to help move the development north towards the town center.
Yeah.
And it's really, the dominoes are going to start to fall pretty quickly. And
Absolutely.
These are going to be two great projects to do that. So we can all pat ourselves on the back. We'll take all the credit. Let the developers take all the risk. Moving on, Public Art Commission update.
Yeah, so I met with the Public Art Commission this morning, and we're on our way for the MARTA project. So we're excited about that. We've had a conversation this afternoon with several of the art teachers over at Chamblee Middle and High School, and they're going to involve the students in some of the design work, which is exciting as well. And then we're also working on getting the mural at the public safety building taken care of. So we put out an RFP, and we have to go back and revise it to an RFQ. So that's been put out. We've gotten questions back from several different firms on that, which is exciting as well, since we've got some interest in it. And so we're well on our way to getting that taken care of as well. And we should be, hopefully in January, we'll have some folks that will be able to narrow down the request for qualifications for that. So, yep, that's where we're at with that.
Excellent. Questions, comments? Local business update.
So not a whole lot to update on that since our last meeting. We're still doing the super local sweep right now and continuing to push the local shopping for the holiday season. We've had quite a bit of people who have participated in that so far, and we still have a week left in the campaign. So that's exciting, and we have plans moving into the new year to continue with the Chamblee Eats project as well, so that we can continue to help support our business community, particularly with our restaurants right now, since they're struggling. So hopefully we'll get some good traction from what we've already done with Atlanta Eats and what we've already done with the Chamblee Eats campaign, and just move that forward into the new year.
Excellent. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Laura, have we gotten anything yet from Linux Cupcakes on the facade grant?
We have not. Leslie and I met with Mario last week, and he mentioned, working with them, and they didn't get us any applications in time for this meeting, so they're planning on putting in for the January meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Laura, I just want to say that you guys have been doing a really great job of promoting Chamblee Eats and our Chamblee businesses. And I know you put in a lot of hours, and I think it has really done some good. So thank you very much for your efforts.
Thanks so much. I appreciate that.
Did we, did Mario get paid for his project?
Yes, Catherine cut him a check before she left and had sent him an email to pick it up. As far as I know, he picked it up.
Great, awesome. I had a question about, and this might not be the right forum, but it was, I think Galas came in front of the city council meeting. The business owner there, was noticeably frustrated about just COVID and its impact on restaurants, this, that, and the other. And I don't mean to be dismissive of what he's saying, but I guess, is there anything there that the DDA can help with? I know we keep beating this horse, but since I saw the meeting, I thought I'd bring it up.
You know, it's a good question. I don't know if there's anything officially that the DDA is able to do. You know, I spent a good amount of time speaking with him before that meeting and letting him know what we've been doing. And I know that sometimes that just isn't, you know, enough. Just it's hard circumstances right now, and while we're trying to do what we can, just sometimes it's not enough for some of our businesses, and that's not specific to him. It's just in general right now, right? And so I think, you know, individually, you know, visiting our businesses and giving them good reviews. There is it's like an advent calendar that was put out by an organization that I follow, and most of it was how to basically like promote your downtown area. So things like giving a 5-star review to one of your local businesses. So there's a task each day to help spur your economy, and how to do that individually. But I'm not really sure what that looks like as a DDA board right now.
Yeah,
Definitely as though.
I've got a question. Are they within the DDA boundaries?
a little bit.
If they are, they're right on the edge. I'd have to look that up.
I was thinking that our edge pretty much stopped at the stoplight, but I could be wrong.
I think you're
Yeah, I
right.
think you're right.
You're right, Brian. What
I'm
he
sorry,
was
where are we talking about? What property?
Yeah. Specifically Gallows.
which is south
Dallas,
of the,
Dallas is not in our DDA geography. Our geography stops at the point between where the two peach trees connect.
right. One thing that he was asking, the main thing that he was asking for was a reduction in the alcohol license rates. And he compared our alcohol license rates to the cities around us. We have since gotten a breakdown of our alcohol rates from John Walker, and we're in line. We do our alcohol licensing fees a little bit differently than other cities, but in general, we are in line. I think he must just have a beer and wine license, which looks like it's more expensive on the surface, but it isn't necessarily. That's number one. And number two, council did instruct staff to, we have used, not all of it, but we have used the CARES Act money that we got and from DeKalb County, the federal government through DeKalb County. And we have actually records of that, but we just passed a budget amendment last night to make sure that it is included in the minutes of the budget. So one thing that we instructed staff to do was to go back and revisit the idea of lowering the occupational tax fees, which would affect him as well as all of our businesses, which is a more fair way to help our businesses than to just lower the alcohol licensing fees, because that doesn't affect every business. So that is something that we are looking at doing that will hopefully help him. And that's where it is.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd say just generally, we should just continue to think. I know we've talked about this ad nauseum, but just if there are ways that we can do something that help the folks within our jurisdiction, we should try to do that.
Yep. If you have any ideas, I'm always open to that.
Yeah. Excellent. Thanks, guys. SUFA presentation.
I am going to make Eleanor a presenter. So Eleanor, you should see that change come up.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Great. Awesome. Thank you, Laura, for doing that. I was scouring buttons all over the place trying to see if I could present my screen, but this definitely makes it more clear, so I appreciate it. But thanks so much, everyone, for having SUFA here tonight, giving us the chance to present. We're really excited, to be working with Chamblee and have Chamblee become one of the first cities outside of Atlanta to have our SUFA technology. So this is definitely a partnership that we really value, and we can just dive into it. So feel free, to interrupt me at any point during this presentation if you have questions, but also happy to spend time towards the end answering any questions that you might have.
Before you go any further, I do have one question. What does SUFA stand for?
So SUFA doesn't actually stand for anything. Our name is the origin story is a bit of a mystery, but I know the two O's are a bit resemblant of Google. So that's a bit of context on that, but it's definitely a question for our CEO and co-founder.
Okay.
Great, so we can just dive in here. So here we have the SUFA sign. Just to give some background context on where SUFA is in the state of Georgia, we have 29 signs throughout 12 Atlanta neighborhoods. And actually later this month, we'll be bringing 3 signs to Sugar Hill, which will be one of the first, more suburban areas to have SUFA signs outside of Atlanta. So just to give a bit of background on the hardware, every SUFA sign is 100% solar powered. So there's no wires and no emissions required for them to operate fully. Installation only takes about 30 minutes. It's just 4 bolts nailed into the concrete, and then the sign is freestanding, like how you can see in this photo here. There's no excavation of the ground required, again, because it's not connected to the electrical grid. And then, as you can see in this photo, there's a 42-inch screen, electronic ink screen on the front of every SUFA sign. If any of you have ever used a Kindle before, the screen is made of the exact same material. So it's black and white. There's no light pollution. There's no backlighting. We really like to think of it as the front page of a community newspaper. So here we have the screen in a bit more detail. We do break the screen up into several different blocks of content. Right there in the upper left-hand corner where it says local updates, that's our city content block, where the city of Chamblee would essentially be able to post, whatever the city wants to communicate to constituents there. So it could be COVID-19 guidelines, other public health announcements, but it could be, public works notices, road closures, or letting people know about community resources that are available. It's definitely flexible, and it's very much up to the city to decide what they want to post to that block. Right underneath the city content block, we have our community content block, and that's where local businesses can choose to advertise with us. And we do also allow, local neighborhood associations, chambers of commerce, or the DDA to post there for free if you want to let people know about, an upcoming event or any sort of initiative going on at the moment that you want to communicate to the public. And then on the right-hand side of the screen, we have a series of different applets that are on display. It's up to the city to decide which applets they want showing on the screen. This can be unique to every sign throughout Chamblee as well, meaning that the screen does not have to all be identical. They can you can mix and match the applets that you want on display. But some of the choices are having an events calendar with weather updates. We've shifted that to a virtual events calendar for the time being. Our most recent addition to the applet feature is actually our polling feature, which we call the opinion feature. And that's where Chamblee would be able to post a question to the sign up to twice a month. And constituents that are walking in front of the sign can read it and text in their response to a number on the screen. So all those responses come in to the SUFA headquarters. We read every response, and then we'll approve and deny accordingly. Approved responses go live onto the screen, and then we actually compile all the responses and give them back to the city once that poll question has run its course. So this is just a great way to get public feedback on any city initiatives going on, whether it's, what do you want to see next coming to the city of Chamblee, or how do you feel about outdoor dining? It's definitely been a great way to interact with constituents. We also have the What's Open applet, which we call our local business feature. That's a new addition during COVID, where essentially local businesses can let us know about any operational changes that they're experiencing right now, whether it's hours that they're open or any limited services, and we'll communicate that on the sign for free. That's not part of the advertising at all. And then finally, we can also display live transit updates. So this is particularly helpful if the sign is next to a bus stop or a train station, but we're able to update those transit arrival times in real time by syncing up with the Transit Authority's API. So this is just a bit more information about how things actually make their way onto the SUFA signs themselves. The process is fairly straightforward. It starts with making content for the SUFA sign on your computer. So you could use Photoshop for this or any sort of graphic design software. You can also use a website like Canva, which is what I use, very easy to use. So once you create your content and download it as a file, you're able to upload that file to SUFA Talk, which is our online platform. So we review, everything that goes live onto the screen, and as soon as we approve it, it goes up instantaneously. So it's very easy if you need to just post something with 5 minutes to spare, given that COVID guidelines and other things are constantly fluctuating. This has been a pretty nice, instantaneous way to communicate with people. I'll also mention that every SUFA sign has a pedestrian sensor embedded inside of it. So this purely just acts as a counter. It doesn't collect any sort of private data or identifiable information. But what's happening is when someone walks by the sign with a cell phone, that sensor is actually picking up on their cell phone, searching for Wi-Fi connection, and then is then able to count that as an impression. So we deliver, these pedestrian data insights to the city. This has been really insightful, I'd say, during COVID, especially for cities to kind of track pedestrian footfall. It's informed a lot of economic development decisions in terms of when to advise local businesses to stay open, how much inventory to plan for, but it's also helped cities decide, where should we expand sidewalks to make more room for social distancing, where can we close down streets to car traffic and leave them open just for pedestrians.
This doesn't pick up specific data, but will this tell you generally more information about the cell phone holder, like what zip code they live in and things like that?
No, so the sensor would not pick up any sort of identifiable, or private data like that. It purely is mainly just acting as a tallier. So
we use software like this, similar to this in retail, where they're pinging off of the Wi-Fi signal, but it actually tells you, socioeconomic information about where those folks are coming from, what the general average household income is, all that kind of stuff. So.
Oh, interesting. Wow. Well, our sensor, to my knowledge, does not collect any sort of information like that. But I can definitely run it by our product team and see if that's the case. But historically, that's not been something that we've collected or shared at all. Great. One final note here about the sign is the back of every sign has a full color vinyl decal, which is put on the back of it. This is designed in conjunction with our city partners. Some cities choose to use this as an opportunity to incorporate wayfinding, so we can put a map on the back of the vinyl. Other cities choose to use it, to list out a list of a directory of sorts for local businesses or local attractions in the area. But some cities just choose to use it as an opportunity to incorporate any city branding or city colors into just a cool design. So it's very much up to the city to decide what they want to use this space for, and then our designer will work with you to create something that everyone is happy with. So here's just a bit more into the nuts and bolts of what our standard operating agreement looks like with our city partners. All SUFA needs essentially is 4 square feet of sidewalk space to install signs in the public right of way. And in exchange for that, the city will actually receive a 20% share of net revenue made on each sign annually, as well as 100% airtime in that city content block that I mentioned before. You'll also get that custom vinyl decal, which goes on the back of every sign, as well as those pedestrian data insights. SUFA also, single-handedly takes care of all the weekly cleaning and maintenance of the signs. So that burden, that responsibility would not fall onto Chamblee. We have a great, crew in Atlanta already. So They take care of any maintenance or repairs as needed and inspect the signs every week. And SUFA also handles the installation process as well as the content management side. So everything, that goes onto the screen, we're monitoring. We've pre-approved it already, so the city would not have to absorb any responsibility on that front either. And here I'll just switch gears.
Eleanor, this is Van. Real quick about the, if you could go back to the previous slide. So the 20% of the revenue, so the business buys an ad on the sign, y'all handle yourself dealing with the business and getting the ad on there and collecting the revenue. We don't have to deal with that. And then once a year, y'all send us a check for 20% of whatever that annual revenue is. Do you work with the city to get a list of the businesses, or how do you generate those, or do we need to tell our businesses, hey, call them and if you want to add on the sign?
Sure. No, that's a good question. So we actually work with the Chamber of Commerce, in every community that we bring signs to. And we actually host a lunch and learn where we'll, typically in non-COVID times, we'll come down, we'll actually, host an in-person event to educate local businesses about this offering, teach them how to post, and kind of just explain the entire sales process and what running a campaign on the sign is like. We'll still do that, obviously, with Chamblee. It'll just have to be virtual for now. But we'll definitely, take the lead on, getting it out to the community, especially the local business community, that this is a resource that they can use. It would not, fall onto Chamblee to kind of recruit businesses or get them up to speed on the SUFA sign in any way. Although I will say, if there is, a list or another way that you want to communicate this to maybe the businesses within the DDA's geographic region, we would certainly, work with you on that to kind of loop them into that conversation as well. But in short, no, the city would not have to be responsible for, recruiting businesses or, doing the advertising sales or anything like that.
The other question I had on the custom vinyl decal, does the decal have to be the same on all of our signs, or can we design a different decal for each sign? So
the decal can actually be unique to each sign, particularly if the signs are in a different neighborhood from each other. We can definitely do a unique vinyl per neighborhood. If it's for wayfinding, obviously it will be unique depending on where the sign is located. But I will say, for maps and orientation purposes, it does help for the vinyl to be a bit similar, to kind of have those similarities so people can form a habit of kind of turning to it, as a wayfinding tool. But they can be unique. So if there was, different designs you wanted to incorporate into the signs, we could do that with you.
How does the solar powering actually work? Is there like a separate cell, or is there somewhere on this sign that has a solar collector, or can they be under trees, or is that a problem?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the solar panel is actually located right on top here. This is kind of where the operation of the sign is all based out of. We call it the brain. So there's the solar panel on top, and then honestly, it's a bit above my head what goes on in here, but that can be removed, if there's any issues with the solar or with the brain inside of it. We do try to locate the signs not directly underneath a tree, as well as not directly underneath a building overhang or an awning. We try to get as clear of an exposure as possible. But obviously, if there are buildings or trees around, our operations team can usually find a spot that works well.
So, and these are entirely directed at pedestrian and possibly bicycle traffic, but certainly no drive-by cars or anything like that, other than if they're
right. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, they are built primarily for the pedestrian experience.
The other question that I have is that content. So sure. There is public ability to post when there are questionnaires, surveys, or whatever. And you're saying that that is monitored?
Exactly. So for the polling feature, the city, would basically tell us what question you want to post. We'll have that up on the sign. And then people, when they text in their response, it doesn't automatically go directly onto the screen. It goes through our platform, Sufa Talk, essentially. We have someone from our product team who's always monitoring incoming responses. And then we approve and deny primarily our baseline guidelines are, nothing inappropriate or offensive, overly political or religious. But we also deny responses if they're just not on topic. So if they don't actually answer the question, we don't approve it. But then once it's been approved through our internal system, it goes live onto the screen instantaneously so other people can view the response that way.
Okay.
Great. Were there any other questions about the screen or the vinyl?
Yeah, not necessarily about that, but do you have recommendations for the most effective locations, such as entrance to a parking deck or, that kind of stuff? Like, would you do the research on where we might expect to have high foot traffic?
Sure. Yeah, that's a good question. So typically we do aim to install Sufa signs in high traffic pedestrian areas. This can be either commercial corridors like a main street. It could also be in some sort of city plaza or a city park that's, heavily trafficked by pedestrians, as well as next to transit stops. So, bus stations or a train station or anything like that have been what other cities in the past have chosen to go for. In terms of the site selection process, we definitely let the city take the lead on that. In the end, Chamblee better than we do. You would know where these would be probably most impactful for both businesses and just pedestrians walking around the street. So what we'll do is our operations team will come down in conjunction with when the installation is to take place, and we'll do a pre-installation site walk with any members of the city or the DDA that want to be involved, just to inspect each of the locations for solar exposure, and then also the ground cover. It has to be installed on concrete is one prerequisite. But other than that, we largely leave it up to the city to decide what the best spots would be.
And Eleanor, if I'm not mistaken, you can move these too, right? So if we put them in a spot and we determine that we don't like that or it's not getting a lot of traffic, we can have that moved to a different location, right?
Exactly, yes. So the signs are easily movable. It only takes about 15 minutes to unbolt them from the sidewalk. So we definitely can move them around as needed if there's construction going on, or again, as you said, if there's just not a ton of foot traffic or you're not seeing a ton of engagement in one location, we can definitely relocate it. That's easy to do.
Well, the city has been talking about wayfinding signage and has certainly come up with some ideas, Laura. I think you might want to speak to that, but I would love to have a presentation. You make a presentation to the city as well, because I think that this is, number one, the city will have to approve this usage of these in the first place. And in the second place, I think we have already identified some needs, et cetera, and not only that, but our downtown development authority boundaries are what they are, and they don't go outside of the downtown development authority boundaries. And I can certainly see this sign as being something that would also benefit neighborhoods, like a community bulletin board type of thing. So would you be interested in making a presentation to the city and the city council in the near future?
Yes,
Great.
absolutely. Definitely present to the city, because you're right, in the end, we do need to secure, the city's permission as well to install in that public right of way. And I will also mention, typically the way that we structure our agreements is we start with a 1-year pilot period. So that's a good way, just both for the city and for us to kind of see, okay, how's the current placement of the signs? Do we kind of get a good amount, or do we want to expand on the amount of signs throughout the city? So what cities will do is they'll start with a smaller amount of signs, maybe 5
Yeah.
first year, and then kind of reevaluate once 12 months has passed. And that's typically when we'll then expand on the number of signs we have, maybe move out of that downtown area, bring them more into the surrounding neighborhoods, parks and things like that. But that for that first 12 months, it's more of a confined number and confined location. But
Yeah.
you're absolutely right. It can definitely be expanded, the possibilities.
All right.
And we
Rob,
are.
I'm sorry,
Oh,
hold
sorry.
on 1 second. Rob, if I'm not mistaken, the city council has a line item for board reports, and I would think that you and Eleanor should go make that presentation, however the city would have y'all do that. Because if we're approving this as the DDA, then the DDA needs to be there to present what our reasoning is for wanting to do this, and then Eleanor can chime in with all the technical specs.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to do that whenever is most convenient, for the city. One quick thing I will also mention about the vinyl, since you mentioned that, Chamblee is working on this wayfinding package, or maybe already has it in place. We can definitely design the vinyl in conjunction with that existing wayfinding design. So we can match up with the colors and the signage, and kind of have it resemble any other wayfinding signage you might have throughout the downtown. We've done that with a couple other of our city partners to kind of complement what they had in place already.
Well, thank you. I think that these signs are very intriguing.
Thank you. Yes, I'm glad you think so. Did also want to make sure to include a bit of information about our charging core. I'm not sure if this is still something that Chamblee is interested in, but this was our very first actual product, part of our SUFA bench. Unfortunately, we're not manufacturing them anymore, but we do have several left in storage. So I'll just touch on it quite briefly, but essentially, the charging core, much like our sign, is also 100% solar powered. And it's basically a place for people to charge their devices outdoors. It's very easy to use. You just plug in your USB charging cable, and then you're able to sit there and charge your phone for as long as you need to. So this is just a bit more about the nuts and bolts of what the core specs are and the installation process. It's also 4 bolts into the concrete, or sorry, not the concrete, usually on top of a bench to create, a charging bench area. And the cost for that is $2,500.
These benches were how I found the company 7 years ago when I was the chairman, and I brought it to Mark Johnson, and Mark Johnson said, no way in hell. So I just sort of let it lie. But that's how I learned of the company, was back then 7 years ago.
Yes, our benches are from our earliest days, definitely. It was a bit of a sad decision to choose to focus solely on the sign, but our co-founders definitely wanted something that was a bit more engaging and that city governments could also use as a tool. But yes, they were our first product, so we still remember them quite fondly. They're still out there as well in like over 100 cities. Great. Well, that was about all I had. So if there's any other questions, I'm happy to answer them, but also I'm happy to just answer anything over email or schedule a call to clarify anything.
Can you shoot over that map of where you guys are located in Atlanta? I'd love to go take a look at them.
Sure.
And I have a question and a statement. Transit, are you guys synced up with MARTA, and is that working pretty well for the other locations?
Yes. So yes, we are. We are synced up with MARTA. Currently talking about expanding, in Atlanta to be on more MARTA stops. But yes, that is what we're doing right now in Atlanta. Great.
I know their app is not great, not very reliable.
Right.
And then my statement, just generally, guys, we've been talking about doing some marketing at the town center project, this is just one small little sliver of where I think there's value with this, is that you can put QR code on here, talk about what's going on with the DDA projects, the town center project, any project, and quick shot, QR code and get into the augmented reality, whatever. So if you're sitting at Contrast, you've got one of these right next door, and you want to read more about the town center project, you hit that QR code and it will put your phone into the space. It'll layer our project in augmented reality right in front of you, so you can see, this is the rendering of what's going to come, in the next year or so. It just adds to the, excitement and the marketing and all the kind of stuff that goes on with development, where, if you're just standing there at Contrast, it's just a big empty plot of land with a bunch of trees on it. Again, that's kind of one of the little exciting things that you do here, and I mean, you can expand that, in a million different directions, but just my thought.
I completely agree with you. And that is very interesting. I keep thinking about the communications that the Mid-City District has on on Nextdoor, and it would almost take a dedicated person to dispense with information for the residents of our Mid-City District. They have so many burning questions as to what's going on. However, again, this is a sign, and again, city has to approve the use of them, so don't forget. Eleanor, I'm looking at your website. It says eleanor@sufa.co.
Yes, that actually is correct. It's not a typo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, perfect.
I can also send out this presentation just so everyone can have my contact information, and you can refer to it if you need any details or reminders about the signs.
Eleanor, you sent it to me, so I'll be happy to send it to the board.
Okay, great. Thanks, Laura. And I guess you and I, maybe with Van, can coordinate any presentations to the city that might be coming up. We're happy to be flexible.
Absolutely. I'll look forward to it.
Excellent. Thank you. Old business, SLX MOU agreement and pilot payment.
Yeah, so I just wanted to give you guys an update on that. I have some sad news that Chris Delgadis just passed away. So that does kind of slow things up a little bit, and obviously for obvious reasons. So I just wanted to give you a heads up on that. That's why the MOU hasn't been signed yet, but I've been in conversation with James Hickman. He plans to have a better update on Friday. But I just want to kind of let you guys know about what's going on there. So just a quick update on that.
Well, that's very sad news.
It is, yeah.
Thank you. We will move on to new business license agreement for town center. This is actually a two-part request, I guess it is. We need to, Dan, we need to put together a license agreement or access agreement for Contrast. Basically just put together a shell of an agreement once we clear the site for the town center. That would act as a kind of a temporary lease for them. Something simple and just kind of covers the bases and make sure that they have insurance, this, that, and the other, and it's, temporary and revocable, I guess, after 30-day notice or whatever it is. But a simple access agreement for Contrast, but then also a simple access agreement for Seven Oaks to get out there and get the folks out to actually clear the site. Not the whole site, but just the one little hill. So those are the two things, the two requests that we need to put out there. I don't know if we need a motion to do that or what.
Rob, this is Dan. I'm sorry. Hello?
Hey, Dan, can you hear us? We are having a hard time hearing you.
Yeah, I'm in transit and I've had terrible cell connection and haven't been able to dial in till now. And I'm not surprised you can't hear me very well. Just want to let you know I'm here and call on me if I can help with anything.
Okay, great. I don't think there needs to be a motion, Dan, to get an access agreement together, but that's what we need to do.
Laura?
Well,
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
if it's not pre-authorized in a document, then there would need to be a resolution on it.
Okay. But I assume once it gets drafted, then we would need to authorize it.
That's right. And unless you need it between now and the next meeting, in which case, the board could authorize the chair and council to work one out.
I do think we need it for Seven Oaks to get on the site to clear the property.
Okay.
Motion to grant the chairman the ability to work with Dan to get the lease agreement for the town center.
Before we go there, well, I'll second it, but then I've got a conversation to have about it.
Sure. All in favor, Brian?
Aye.
Van?
Aye.
Leslie?
Aye.
Robert?
Aye.
Ronnie?
Here's my question.
Yes.
They haven't purchased the property, have they?
Nope.
Then it's not up to them, it's up to the city. Or it's up to us. But I don't know if we have to get permission from the city, but since we're the ones who own the property, it's really up to us, not Seven Oaks.
That's right. That's the need for the agreement, to make sure that if they're stepping on our property, that they've got their butts covered.
Okay, and the other question is, do they need also, or we also need to get permission from the city for them to, it's not really a land disturbance, but it's a little bit of a land disturbance. So I'd like to know if Laura, you might be able to speak to that better than me, or you might need to find out. Does the city need to sign off on this?
My understanding, yeah, my understanding is not necessarily, but we will certainly ask and make sure that they are aware of it.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good.
I mean, I think as long as we're just doing maintenance and clearing brush, there's no restriction on that. Is if we're not taking down trees, I think that's really where the city comes in, or if they're disturbing the ground. If they're just cutting shrubs and brush, it's normal maintenance, isn't it?
Correct. Correct, but we want to make sure that the city is aware.
Well, if they're planning on putting down wood chips for a patio or anything like that, then it's crossing over.
Well, this is, kind of phase one of many phases. I think it's get in there and figure out what it actually is.
And I know that the city is aware, but we just need to be sure that we dot all of our I's.
Well, I think there's two separate things. I think one is permission for Seven Oaks to come in and clear the property. The second is permission for Contrast to use a portion of the property. And in my opinion, we need the city's concurrence with the second, with Contrast's intent to use the property and any changes that need to be made, but not Seven Oaks maintenance of the property.
That's right. Yeah, and really, this is just teeing up the agreement so we can all take a look. And I'm talking about for Contrast, so we can all just see and kind of put a box around what it is that we're talking about, but not to authorize anyone to have access to it or anything, or laying out any kind of infrastructure or anything like that. Those conversations are still ongoing. Again, this is kind of phase one of clearing and cleaning for us to then take a step back and say, okay, what is it that we actually have here? Can we do something? Any other questions or comments? Did I lose you guys?
No, I'm here. No more comments or questions.
Peachtree Station letter of credit request.
Yeah, so we received an email from the folks over at Peachtree Station. And Dan, this might be a question for you on how to handle this. They would like to have us release or substitute the letter of credit required in the bonds. I don't know how to approach that, and just wanted to talk about what we need to do for that.
All right. Well, I haven't seen the email, but this would be the liquidity facility. You know, we've been requiring developers in the event of a claim, and they're supposed to indemnify us, but suppose we had to defend. So they've been providing one way or another, I think $100,000 worth of liquidity. If they provided a standby letter of credit, those LCs have a duration and then they expire and they have to be replaced. So it may be that they're talking about substituting for an LC that is being held by somebody. There's an escrow agent with a new LC, or they might be asking us to waive the requirement for it. I couldn't tell without seeing what the request is, and then I'd need to go back and look at the documents.
Okay.
I think they're asking to waive it, right? Because they basically want that freed up.
Yeah,
the board can waive. That's what the request is, and you know, there might or might not. You know, there might come a time when we wish we had it, or there might not be. But what is their financial situation like? I mean, do we feel like they're strong, and then if there was a demand, they'd be able to respond to it, so we wouldn't need the LC?
This is S.J. Collins, correct? Not Seraphim?
It's S.J. Collins.
My recommendation is to forward the email to Dan, let him take a look at it, and then he can come back to us at the next meeting and tell us, you know, an assessment of it.
Is this the S.J. Collins that made like $30 million off the deal and now is complaining about the cost of providing a letter of credit?
That's correct.
Ah, okay.
That's a very good point.
Let's
right.
Yeah, let's take a look and see what the situation is and discuss next meeting.
Okay, sounds good. Yep.
Tables and chairs, lease extension.
Yeah, so tables and chairs, they are currently in the process of moving out, but they have requested a little bit more time. Their lease ends at the end of the month, and they think that they'll probably just need a little bit more time to move all their things to their new location. I talked to him a little bit about that and thought I'd just come back to you guys. I don't see that being an issue since we don't have anybody coming in immediately, and I don't think he needs an extended amount of time, probably just a month. So wanted to make sure that that was something that we could offer to him.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with it. I think we're happy to take another month's worth of, or whatever the period is, worth of rent. Guys, do you have any questions or comments?
Did we ever get the back rent that they owed us?
Did we ever get what? I'm sorry?
The back rent that they owed us?
Yes, we did.
This is tables and chairs, right?
That's right.
All right, so they're really, and I'm speaking from memory now, there's four things. There's an extension of the inspection period, which I guess is the extension we're talking about until sometime in January next year. Did they get DCI approved?
This is this is the lease that's in place for the current tenant of Tables and Chairs. They
Right, so I'm talking-
want to extend by a few weeks or a month.
Okay, sorry, I was talking about the PSA, so disregard it.
Okay.
And I guess I think we have Bob on the line. Bob, as the potential buyer of the property, do you have an issue with us doing any sort of lease extension?
Oh. I think we lost Bob.
You lost me for a minute.
Here.
It looks like we've got Andrew on. Andrew, do you think there are any issues with extending this? Andrew might have gotten up to go eat dinner. I don't think there are any issues from the buyer's standpoint.
Okay. I'll confirm with them and make sure just in case, but I don't think so either. I think Andrew and I had kind of talked about this before, I think. So,
Okay.
Bob, I think I see you're back. Okay. All right. I'll confirm and then move forward with that.
Do we need a motion to approve the lease extension?
Yes,
Motion to approve a lease extension with Tables and Chairs. Do we have an amount, time not to exceed? Are they asking for a certain amount of time?
They are not asking for a certain amount of time, but we can stipulate that.
I would say 2 months.
Why don't you just motion to give the chair the authority to extend the lease based on, that way we don't have to have a specific time in the motion.
That's a good idea, Van. So motion to extend the lease for Tables and Chairs based on in an amount of time that Rob Smith deems necessary, with the agreement with Bob Voiles.
Second,
All in favor? Brian?
aye.
Ann?
Aye.
Leslie?
Aye.
Robert?
Aye.
Ronnie? All right, approved. 2020 regular meeting calendar.
I have to apologize. This should say 2021 on that, so I apologize for that. But we try to publish all of the dates for our meeting at the beginning of the year so that we are in compliance with letting folks know about things. Typically, the only issues that we have come up around Thanksgiving and Christmas, and in the last few years, we have not moved the November meeting. We've only moved the Christmas meeting or the holiday December meeting. So I was looking at the calendar, and I think that my suggestion would be for us to move the December meeting to the 14th of that month, which would be quite a bit earlier, but still be on a Tuesday and wouldn't, I don't think that would fall in line with council meetings if we did it that day. Do you may have any other suggestions on how we want to handle that one?
I like the schedule that you sent out. I was really hoping and praying that you did not want to do a 2020 do-over, because I'm ready for 2020 to be over.
Praise that. Yep.
Motion to approve the 2021 regular meeting calendar.
Hold on.
Second.
Wait. You have to pick a date for the December one before we can do that.
I thought we just said that your suggestion of the 14th was.
I did, but I wanted to make sure that everybody is good on that, though.
Yes.
I am. You're sure that's not a third Tuesday, right?
So the third Tuesday is the 21st.
Okay, perfect. Yep, I'm good with it.
I think I'm
And if
free.
If it happens to, that the council meeting does get moved for some odd reason, we have plenty of time to give notice on a change.
Yeah.
Is that correct, Dan?
Yes.
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
Did we have a motion?
Okay.
All right, once again, motion to approve the 2021 regular meeting calendar.
Second.
All in favor? Brian?
Aye.
Dan?
Aye.
Leslie?
Aye.
Robert?
Aye.
I myself. Excellent. Do we have a motion to go to executive session?
Motion to go to executive session pursuant to OCGA 50143B1 for the purpose of discussing or approving a real estate transaction.
All in favor?
We didn't get a second.
Second.
Here we go.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
There
Aye.
we go.
Aye.
Rapid speed. So, do you guys have any questions about Rod's site or about what's going on?
Questions that can't be answered, yeah.
Right. Essentially, he's going back to the drawing board with what he wants to do.
And that just scares me to death, but okay.
Yep. All right. I don't have anything else unless you guys do.
I don't have anything.
Motion to exit the executive session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
We don't have
Motion to
public comment.
adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry. I did have a public comment.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't matter if we're adjourned or not. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Holidays.
Merry Christmas, y'all.
Congrats, Laura.
Thank you.
Nice work.
Yeah.
I appreciate y'all's patience with me.
Oh.
All right.
Great. You did great.
All right, y'all. I'll talk to you soon, and let me know if you need anything, all right?
Okay.
See you guys.
Good night, everybody.
Good
Good
night.
night, everybody.